Hey, you. You're finally awake.
Hello and welcome back to the channel, you lovely people. The Nintendo 3DS may have had some of the best game libraries of its generation, but even the best consoles aren't immune to bad games. From botched ports to embarrassing cash grabs, today we're looking at 7 of the absolute worst games to ever land on the Nintendo 3DS. Hello, my name is Danny, and if you want to hear more of me, we've got a weekly podcast called Retro Wars, where you can find that wherever you get your podcasts from, and if you want to support the show financially, we've also got a Patreon, where you get a new show each week, and you can get actively involved in the podcast. Right, let's get into it, shall we? 7 of the worst Nintendo 3DS games ever made. The Sims 3. You'd think by now that the Sims formula would be foolproof, especially on a handheld where simulations game tend to thrive. But The Sims 3 on the 3DS manages to be a complete mess. This was supposed to bring the life simulation experience in the third dimension, literally, like it's really good on the PC, but instead it crashes and burns under the weight of its own ambition. The story, well, come on, it's Sims, isn't it? There's no central narrative, just the usual Sim setup. Create a character and try and live your best stimulated life. Well, on 3DS, the options are so limited it's almost laughable. Your career choices are few, your interactions are clunky, and don't even think about building a proper home. It's an absolute nightmare. Performance-wise, The Sims 3 is an unplayable train wreck. The frame rate drops constantly, the loading times are absurd, and the game frequently crashes. The stylus controls are awkward and responsive, making even simple actions like navigating a menu a pain. The camera is jittery and uncooperative, which is especially frustrating when trying to design your Sims house. Graphically, the game looks like it's crawled out of the Game Boy Advance cartridge rather than actually be a PC port. The character models are ugly and lifeless, and the environments are drab and flat, and the 3D effects add nothing of value. Well, to be fair, did it ever bring anything of value? In fact, turning on the 3D just makes it harder to look at. Audio is also the letdown. While the Sims franchise is known for its quirky soundtrack and Simlish chatter, this version has barely any music. Muffled sound effects and dialogue sounds like it was recorded for a tin can. It's just a lazy attempt. The controls are also terrible, and even long-time fans are going to struggle. Basic tasks like buying furniture or changing clothes take forever. The touchscreen implementation is just horrible, with poor button mapping and unresponsive gestures. It turns what should have been simple actions into irritating chores. Reviews for The Sims 3 on 3DS were universally harsh. Critics cited its technical issues, lack of depth, and overall sloppiness. It holds an abysmal score on Metacritic and quickly became a cautionary tale for rushed ports. Players looking for a portable version of The Sims were sorely disappointed. And long-time Sims fans were left scratching their heads. Like, why release such a broken experience on a system with proven potential for simulation games? It's like a cheap cash grab and banking on the franchise's name recognition. EA could have done so much more with this port, but instead they just delivered a broken, stripped-down mess. In the end, Sims 3 on a 3DS is a lifeless, glitchy husk of a game it's supposed to be. It's not just a bad port, it's a warning about what happens when developers underestimate handheld players. The title is best left in the discount bin, or better yet, forgotten entirely. Power Rangers Megaforce. Now, Power Rangers Megaforce on 3DS should have been a slam dunk for fans of the long-running franchise. With bright colours, action-packed fight scenes, and a legacy spanning decades, the Power Rangers have everything you want in a handheld brawler. Unfortunately, none of that shows up here. The game follows the basic Megaforce TV plot. Aliens are invading, and it's up to the new generations of Rangers to stop them. But the storytelling is so sparse, most players won't even know what's going on. There's no voice acting, no cutscenes, and barely any dialogue, just static images and repetitive mission descriptions. Gameplay is where things just fall apart. Power Rangers Megaforce is a bland side-scrolling beat-em-up with sluggish controls and no depth. You punch the same enemies over and over with no variation, no challenge, and no reward. This means the level design is lazy and often recycling the same backgrounds and layouts. There are also multiple Rangers to choose from, but they all play the same, which is a real shame. Just go back to the originals, give me the White Ranger. There are no strategy involved, no power differentiation, and worst of all, no satisfying combat mechanics. Combos are non-existent, and enemy eye may as well be cardboard cutouts. It just becomes a chore rather than actually getting the thrill to fight through those levels, and that's the shame, because when you've got games like, Streets of Rage 2, again, we always get Streets of Rage 2, that's a great game. Just make Streets of Rage 2, but Power Rangers, and you're in. The bosses are no better either. They all follow the same dull pattern and lack any sense of impact. Defeating them just doesn't feel rewarding, it just feels like the game is dragging on. Even the iconic Megazord battles are reduced to quick, shallow minigames with no weight or spectacle, and I love Megazord. Well, I love the Megazord, looking back in the original ones, I don't know about this new one, but still, you're fighting with giant robots, come on people, that should be easy. Visually, the game is shockingly ugly. Characters are low resolution and poorly animated, environments are flat and everything looks muddy. The 3D effect feels tacked on and doesn't really do anything. And the soundtrack is equally forgettable. It loops tracks endlessly and lacks the energy excitement you expect from a Power Rangers title. The sound effects are weak and generic, failing to actually make any sense. Critics and fans alike tore this game apart. It was called soulless, boring, and a complete waste of the license. Even younger players, the game's target demographic, found it dull and frustrating. It barely functions as a game, let alone an adaptation of an action-packed series. And what's frustrating here is the wasted potential. Power Rangers is tailor-made for a dynamic gameplay, morphing mechanics, and flashy team combos, instead what we just got recently. Instead we got a glorified flash game stretching across a $30 cartridge. It deserved better, and so did the fans. Power Rangers Megaforce isn't just bad, it's insulting to fans and gamers alike. It feels like it was rushed out the door with zero care for quality, and a true disservice to everything the franchise represents. Attack on Titan, Humanity in Chains. When you hear there's an Attack on Titan game on the 3DS, you're going to be expecting intense combat, fast-paced movements, and dramatic storytelling. After all, the anime and the manga is beloved for its thrilling action and emotional stakes, and I love both of them. I read all the manga before I watched all the anime. Unfortunately, Humanity in Chains fails to represent any of that. The story tries to follow the events of the anime's first season, but does so with minimal context. Cutscenes are dry and static, missing the energy and urgency of the original series. Many iconic moments are glossed over or poorly recreated, leaving fans of the show severely underwhelmed. The gameplay is horrific as well. Controlling your character with a 3DS circle pad is clunky, and using the omnidirectional mobility gear never feels smooth. Rather than soaring through the skies to take down titans, you're constantly fooling around with the camera and getting stuck on geometry. And that's the thing, that's to be the coolest thing ever, like you're swinging around like Spider-Man. To be fair, do you think Spider-Man would be able to defeat these things with ease? I think he would. I wouldn't think he had any problems if he was fighting the titans. He'd just piss it like nothing. The mission structure is also repetitive and dull. Many missions feel like fetch quests or involve killing the same enemy types with little variation. And while the game does have a multiplayer feature, it's so poorly implemented that it barely functions, and finding a match is nearly impossible. The combat lacks weight, and that's the big thing in here. You want the weight of the combat, you want every slash to feel like you're actually doing something. But it just means the Titans feel underwhelming, and the satisfaction of slicing a nape is completely lost in the awkward animations and poor hit detection. Boss fights in particular are tedious and drawn out with no real challenge. Graphically, the game is also quite unimpressive. The Titans look awkward, characters are poorly modelled, and the environments are just barren. Critics panned Humanity in Chains for its clunky gameplay, lack of context, and subpar visuals. Fans were equally disappointed, especially considering how much potential the property has for a compelling action game. And in reality, it should be Spider-Man with swords. This should be an amazing game. Instead of delivering a gripping experience that captures the spirit of Attack on Titan, this title settles for mediocrity. It feels rushed, unfinished, and unworthy of the source material. A colossal failure, if there ever was one. Humanity in Chains could have had the anime adaptation that broke the mold, but instead it joins the ranks of licensed games that completely miss the mark. Avoid it unless you're truly desperate to swing through disappointment. Sonic Boom Shattered Crystal. Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom is meant to reintroduce Sonic and his friends in a fresh way for handheld games. Tied to the conventional Sonic Boom reboot series, the game had a lot riding on it. Unfortunately, it just falls on every front. The plot is a derivative mess, and it tries to emulate the humour and the teen dynamics of the TV show, but fails to use the uninspired writing and lifeless delivery. The central plot is rescuing Amy from the Lyric, the snake-like villain, but just feels recycled and lacks that emotional pull, although I understand it is a Sonic game, like what are you expecting? Gameplay is surprisingly slow for a Sonic title. Rather than focus on traditional speed-based platforming, Shattered Crystal prioritizes exploration and puzzle solving, which is what? No! I understand that could be a cool idea, but this is Sonic! Sonic goes fast! Again, if you want to do those exploration and puzzle solving, you execute it well, but even that, the level design's convoluted, and it requires constant backtracking, so that's not even done well. Each level unnecessarily long and bloated, and you find yourself wandering in circles trying to collect items to unlock other parts of the map. It disrupts the pacing entirely and turns what should be fast, exciting levels into tedious slogs. You can switch between 4 characters, but the differences between them are minor, and their abilities are rarely fun to use. The game tries to encourage teamwork and experimentation, but mostly ends up confusing and slowing down the action. The controls here also feel like a bit like a mixed bag. Basic movement is fine, but the grappling hook mechanic, which is used constantly, is unresponsive and awkward. It's supposed to allow for fluid transitions between platforms, but instead leads to constant frustration. Graphically, the game is passable, but bland. The character models are stiff, the backgrounds lack the detail, and the animations feel robotic. The 3D, as always, adds nothing and just best turn off. It lacks the vibrant energy fans expect from a Sonic title, and that's the point. Sonic games are meant to feel like you're on a big trip. Legal trip, I should say, don't encourage that. But you should be literally one high to another. But here it's just slow and boring and meh. Reviews were harsh, with critics and fans alike slamming the game for poor design, boring gameplay, and failing to live up to the Sonic name. It normally sits at the bottom of most Sonic ranking lists, and even younger players lost interest quickly. Sonic Boom Shattered Crystal is yet another example of the franchise struggling with its identity. It tried something new, fair, but forget what actually made Sonic great to begin with. It's slow, dull, and entirely forgettable. Power Rangers Super Megaforce. Oh, if you thought Power Rangers Megaforce was bad, wait until you try its sequel, Super Megaforce. It's so bad, I wanted to put both of them on this list. Built on the same broken foundation, it somehow managed to be even worse, and that's saying something. The story picked up from the first game left off, with the Rangers gaining access to new powers and costumes from other past Rangers. It should be a nostalgic trip down memory lane, but the game has nothing to do with it. There's no character development, no meaningful plot twists, and no payoff for long-time fans. It just boils down to beat up bad guys, move to the right, and repeat until your eyes glaze over. The rich history of the franchise is reduced to a handful of skins and colour swaps, which is rubbish. Just give me the original Rangers, left, right, centre, more of them, make them gods. Especially the green and white Ranger, make them a god, make good old Tommy the leader. Gameplay is even repetitive in the last game. Every mission is the same side-scrolling fight fest with minimal enemy variety. You mash one button the entire time with no strategy engagement required, and that's no fun at all. Superpowers? Barely used. Character switching? Pointless. Enemy II? Practically non-existent. The few boss battles thrown in are just larger versions of the same dull enemies, and there's no sense of achievement here. The graphics somehow look worse than Megaforce. How? Everything is low res, animations are stiff, and the attacks have no visual impact. Again, don't use 3D, just burn the thing. As like the other one, there's no voice acting or recognisable soundtracks, and you just get repetitive loops of crap music with generic punching sounds. Critics had a field day with this one. It was universally panned for being lazy, boring and unpolished, and fans of the show probably just wanted to burn this one before they even got it, hoping, oh, maybe this is going to be better than the last one. No, it's terrible. Super Megaforce is not just a bad sequel, it's a complete rehash with less effort. It's clear the developers weren't trying to make a good game, they were just trying to cash in on the brand without doing anything to try and improve the previous one. Langressa Reincarnation Tensei, you see how many times I tried to pronounce that, was supposed to be a revival of the classical tactical RPG series. Instead it became one of the most disappointing releases on the 3DS, and the game had so much potential, but everything from its visuals to its mechanics are a disaster. The story is convoluted and poorly presented. It throws you into generic fantasy war with little context, and the characters are one-dimensional anime archetypes. There's no emotional hook, no narrative payoff, just endless exposition and bland dialogue. The gameplay attempts to replicate the turn-based strategy of Fire Emblem, but fails miserably. I should make this clear, I love Fire Emblem. I have played so many Fire Emblems, it's silly. I went on a binge and did like 6 in a row. This should be a slam dunk for me, but no, this game is dreadful. The interface is clunky, the units move slowly, and battles drag on. The strategic elements are undercooked, and there's absolutely no challenge here. One major issue here, though, is the game's art style. Those character designs are bizarre and off-putting, with thick outlines and weird proportions. Instead of the classic fantasy aesthetic fans might expect, it just looks like a rejected mobile game, and when you see that, that's never going to put you on a winner. The enemy variety is also lacking, and the map designs are uninspired. You'll fight on the same bland-looking battlefields with little variation. Environmental hazards and terrain advantages, yeah, practically non-existent. Balancing is also a mess here, with some characters are grossly overpowered, while others are useless. The game encourages grinding over smart tactics, which turns the experience into a boring numbers game. And that's the problem. Again, you've got Fire Emblem. Just copy it, for God's sake. I'm not saying that's the way you should do it, but if you're going to make a game, at least try and do low effort, try and copy the thing and just change a few little tweaks now and then. Graphically, the game is also one of the worst on the 3DS. It looks dated even by launch standards. The sprites just look crap, the 3D effects are pointless, and the battle animations are laughably bad. The soundtrack is also forgettable, and the voice acting is sparse and stilted. There's no energy, no emotion, and no excitement, and it feels like the game is going through the motions. And again, you can go back to Fire Emblem, because when it does have voice acting, it's great, and when it has music, it's great as well. Langressa used to be a respected name in the tactical RPG genre. This game, however, does everything in its power to tarnish that legacy, and it's a shell of what it could have been. Reincarnation Tensei is more than just a bad game, it's a tragic misfire for a once beloved series. If you want a good tactical RPG in the 3DS, stick to Fire Emblem. And finally, RollerCoaster Tycoon 3D. RollerCoaster Tycoon 3D promised to bring the thrill of the amusement park management to Nintendo's handheld, but instead it delivered a joyless, watered-down experience, and this port missed everything that made the original games fun. So much so, when I was trying to find footage for this video, I couldn't, because obviously no one wants to play it, so here you just get the trailer on repeat. Sorry, there's nothing I can do here. There's no story, just a career mode with a few objectives and a sandbox mode with limited creativity. Now, this would have been fine if the mechanics were solid, but they're not. Building and managing the park is tedious, and the game constantly limits your freedom. The coaster building tool, the heart of the franchise, is completely broken. It's overly simplified, offers no room for creativity, and is riddled with bugs. You can't create complex designs or smooth tracks, and many attempts end in ride failures for no reason. I suppose I'd just be wanting them to go to their death. Whee! Management mechanics are gutted here. Guest AI is dumb, pricing tools are overly basic, and you can't even monitor park data in a meaningful way. It feels like you're playing a tutorial version for RollerCoaster Tycoon rather than actually the real thing. The visuals are also terrible. The parks are ugly, rides look blocky, and the whole game runs with muddy textures and clunky frame rates. But the one other thing is the touchscreen controls are frustrating, and you need them to try and build the ultimate park. Navigating the menus just feels wrong, and dragging and dropping ride parts is more difficult than it should be, and there's no real clean way of doing it. Fans and critics tore this game apart, and it's called the worst version of RollerCoaster Tycoon ever released, and for good reason. It removes all the complexity and charm that made the series a PC classic. This is a game that misunderstands its own appeal. Instead of bracing freedom, customization and strategy, it turns off a shallow, broken version on a beloved franchise. RollerCoaster Tycoon 3D is the final nail in the coffin for bad 3DS ports. It doesn't just disappoint, it actively erases what made the original great. Skip this one entirely. And that's it. 7 of the worst 3DS games ever made. Did I get this list right? Were the ones that you thought I should have been putting on here? If so, put them in the comments below. And as always, if you think I've earned it, please leave a like and a comment and subscribe for more content. And I'll see you in 3 days for another video. You all take care of yourself. Bye bye.